Cancer. Welcome to a Broken Heart reading for March 2021. It's Raina here. I'm just arbitrarily saying March because I'm talking about this time frame. I want to just be able to speak on more than just February because, that's just the way recordings go on YouTube. But I could have said right now, what you're experiencing right now. I found a spread, and this is from atarotcards.com. I don't know why they call it atarotcards.com, but it was a really succinct type of broken heart tarot spread, and they didn't give like positions, so I'm just going to create my own on the fly here, and I'll tell you what each one means after I do so. So this is for people who have broken up with somebody recently. They hope to get back with that person. And yet it may not be as easy as that. Oh, wait till you find out what these positions mean. I'm sorry if you can't see the cards. There's nothing I can do about it, but I'll hold them up. It's pretty funny. It's actually kind of humorous. Okay, this is the last card, the outcome card. Okay. All right, so you're my guinea pig. You're the first one that I'm doing this on. So the central issue is the Nine of Cups, and this is a card of wish fulfillment. It's actually a very positive card, but this is like the central issue in the breakup, in the problems in the relationship. So how could this possibly be what is going on? Well, if I had to interpret it, sometimes it can be too much of a good thing. So it can be if somebody is indulgent, maybe they have an addiction and they have a very compulsive personality. And for some reason, Aries came into my mind, and I was thinking specifically about spending money, because Cancer people, that would drive you like absolutely bonkers. Most of you, not all of you, but most of you, it would just drive you bonkers to have somebody that you feel is wasting money and buying, maybe you think they're too generous. They're always the one buying dinner. They're always the ones giving family money. And you feel like they're threatening the household and maybe even gambling and things like that. But also, because this is the card of hopes and wishes, you might have different dreams, and they're clashing in some way. So the second card represents how you see the other person. And we have the King of Wands. Now that's interesting too, because I was talking about, Aries came to mind. I could see this person being an Aries. It's definitely a fire sign, but you may see this person as being in control of things, and maybe you feel a sense of like not having that same balance of control or power in the relationship, and that person is kind of the person making all the decisions, and you feel resentment or what have you. Also, this kind of person would be very independent and maybe has other things going on, really involved with their career. I see this as a person who is very, this person can be very successful in general in life, and maybe in some cases you don't feel like they have time for you and they have time for everybody else. It's not a negative thing. This is not like a bad thing, but perhaps it can be simply that you feel that um, they their life is too wrapped up in outer things and they're not home enough and that kind of thing. The reason I laughed is this is how they see you. So we have the death card. And the death card is connected to Scorpio, but in terms of what that could possibly mean and how they would view you is that sense of, it's interesting. Going with the theme of fire versus water, they say that water puts out fire. So, in other words, a water sign can have a habit of kind of extinguishing the passions of the fire sign person, saying, "You can't do that. That's impractical. That's grandiose for you to think about doing something like that." And that can feel like it's too negative for that other person, that it's not encouraging them. Also, the idea of freedom, if they are someone who really wants to um, be able to come and go as they please or have, because the King of Wands, this is the highest ranking, if you will, and what in the suit of wands, and what that represents is the ultimate autonomy, meaning that the person feels like they don't have to answer to anyone except themselves, that they don't have to bend to the will of anybody else, and that they are their own person. I personally feel that we all have this right as human beings, but that in relationships we have to respect that, the other person's wishes, and we have to, bring them into the picture. We can't just have our way all the time. We have to bring that other person into it. However, it's all a matter of degrees, right? And some people are extremely possessive. Some people are extremely controlling. I'm not saying this specifically about Cancer. I'm saying just in terms of, I'm not even talking about certain signs. I'm just talking about human nature. There are certain people that are wired to be very jealous of not just like perceived, flirtations or something like that, but also just even like jealous of the time that they may spend with other relatives, with relatives or with friends. Has not, that has no connotation of any sexual rivalry or anything like that. It can be just anything where it takes attention away from the other person and they feel jealous about that. And that's just how it is. Some people are competitive. So when it comes to things with the death card, maybe they feel like it really is over and you still believe that there's a chance. The other thing, too, is that perhaps, because kings can be fathers, and you might see this person as reminding you of your father or projecting some of the things that went on with your father onto this person. And that can be problematic as well. That person may feel like you're not treating them fairly. And I don't want to make this all about you being in the wrong. I just think it's very interesting, the contrast between these two cards and what that might indicate in terms of like how each person perceives the other. So the next position, let's see here. Since you're the first one, I'm still... Okay, this is the unknown. So I don't really know sometimes what they mean when they're talking about each position. So the unknown can relate to me is like maybe that's I want to see something here. I think what I would say is what they mean is like unknown influences that are affecting this. And it could be things that are unspoken by the other person that you're not aware of. And we have the Eight of Swords. So in some cases, when people break up, have you ever heard the expression, you're too good for me? I was just listening to that song, what's that? And I was like, oh man, sweetest taboo. Sometimes I think you're just too good for me. And her name is pronounced Sade, isn't it? Not Sade, Sade. But that idea of a person not feeling worthy of love. Now, the Eight of Swords can relate to, I'm sorry, Eight of Swords can relate to a person feeling held back because of negative self-talk. That's how I see that card. And it can feel like when you're in a relationship with somebody that you know them really well. And it's really sad because sometimes people do not really reveal their true feelings to their partner. And that can lead to misinformation or incomplete information. So, what I would say about this is that it might be if, like, you were left by the other person, or if you were cheated on and you're still with that person, but you feel like it's really pretty much over. The other person may have been self sabotaging. And so it's really important, especially when it comes to that kind of thing like infidelity, which can really lower somebody's self esteem, that you do not make it about some kind of a, like, how would I put it? That it says anything about you, because that's not necessarily true at all. Um, if that person was really being honorable or mature about it, they would have at least told you ahead of time and said, I'm not happy with, the way things are going. And they would have, not been so eager or willing to just go outside the relationship, which doesn't solve anything. It would be a lot more honorable to say, I don't think that we're compatible, and then just leave the relationship rather than stay in the relationship and cheat. So things like that. Now, the fifth card is where you want things to go. And this is important because this is from your standpoint. And of course, you may not resonate with all of these positions, but in case that you do, we have the Three of Pentacles. This is a card of teamwork. I do believe that this card also connects with having children. Obviously, if you're 70 years old, I'm probably not going to be that particular interpretation. My greatest interpretation would be building a life with somebody, and that sense of permanence in that relationship. And that might be something that is also where you're not on the same page with that person, especially if you are involved with a fire sign or even an air sign, that they might be less inclined to commit as soon as an earth sign or another water sign. And so if you are really looking for that, and maybe you're at the age where you haven't had a serious partner, a partner for life, if you will, that kind of thing can be really front and center. And you might be, like I said, even wanting to start a family and feeling this sense of, I can't do this alone. I want this kind of cooperation from this person. But you can't force somebody to be different than they are. And that's especially the case if you do want a family. You don't want to try to force somebody to want something that they are resistant towards. Okay, let me just keep going. The sixth card is Who Can Help? And this is a card that is connected to Pisces. So if you know any Pisces people, it's kind of weird to look at it that way, because it's like, what do they mean by who? Certain people that are born under a certain sign, or this is also the card of a child. And sometimes, that's another interesting thing that can happen. One's children, if they have met a certain person, if you already have children, for instance, sometimes they will tell you, oh, I like this person, or I don't like that person. And obviously, children can't dictate to you who you fall in love with. But if like the Three of Pentacles, you're really looking at this not for some wild-eyed romantic thing, but you're just wanting that sense of structure to your life, and you feel like that would really complete it, then perhaps just if you have dated somebody long enough, and or if this is an ex partner that happens to be your child's father, or I guess you could say mother too, for sure. If you're a man raising the children instead of the woman, they might tell you that they want the two of you back together. So that's kind of the important thing. But again, when I do these readings, I want people to realize that if you have broken up with someone, it's very, very important to really absorb, what the conflict is, and not to minimize it. And if you have been broken up with, and that other person did not tell you, they ghosted you, I don't know, they just refused to tell you why they broke up with you. And if they say they don't want contact with you, then you have to abide by their wishes. Everyone has the right to sever a relationship, even if it's somebody that you have a child with and they don't want to be involved with you romantically. You have the right to pursue it legally for your child, but not through you, and not using the child as an excuse to deal with that person personally, but just strictly for the child. And not for frivolous reasons, but for real reasons. So I would never suggest that the child should be brought into it for that purpose. But if the child is asking you and wanting it. And the other thing too is, in terms of who can help, I said before, somebody who is a Pisces, somebody that who is very the word that comes to mind is innocent. And really, this is the reason that this card is associated with Pisces and associated with the child, is because the child doesn't have that prejudice. The child is very unbiased and innocent. And so, how, wasn't it Jesus said that you have to be like a child? That's what I believe was meant, is that the adult is the one who judges. And when we're dealing with our problems, and we have somebody in our life, that's a blessing. If you have a friend who's a sounding board, and they don't have their little pet prejudices that they will always be anti something or someone because of a certain reason. They always keep an open mind. That might be the bigger picture in that. And the seventh is, what are the challenges in your relationship? It's funny because they only had one card, but they said challenges. Now, this is the Four of Swords. This is a card of rest and retreat. Um, and I think even sometimes if a person has been recuperating from a physical illness, they may have been unable to really participate in that relationship to the fullest. Maybe one of you, and I could totally see you, Cancer, have been having a spiritual awakening, and maybe you have been more wanting to be to yourself and less social and in that mode. And that might be a challenge because you might feel more independent and also more needing of solitude. This is a card of reflecting on one's life. Yeah, this is really true for Cancer because the North Node is transiting your 12th house. Yeah, for sure. So whether I knew there was a reason, but I couldn't, astrologically, but I couldn't remember what it was. And you've had eclipses here, and this is the area of the spiritual realms and solitude. This is the area of the hermit, and also just like anything that connects with the spiritual, including a guru, a group that is that you feel very connected to spiritually, those kinds of things. And the other person, if they're not on the same page with that, that can create a rift. The outcome card that we have here is the Six of Pentacles, and this is, you can see the person with the scales, and this is really what it's about. It's about give and take. So if the relationship is to flourish, it has to be balanced. It has to be that you're not giving your all and that person is just taking from you. It has to be mutual. And so, going back to the Death card, if that person feels that it's over, then you have to respect that it's over. Cancer is a very tenacious sign, even though it's not a fixed sign. It's actually a cardinal sign, and it's funny how Cancers can sometimes come across as very reticent and what's the word, like very shy, very, very like demure. And then they can get very aggressive when their emotions are stoked up. So it's possible that you are in a place where you feel like the relationship has a chance, and you don't want to move on, and perhaps the other person does want to move on. In that kind of a scenario, what I would say is that you can, if you can just like detach from it temporarily, and if you have been calling that person, contacting them, that you cease to do so, that you let them take the lead. And sometimes people won't do that because they're afraid that the other person is going to move on with their life. And if that is something that's running through your head, then you know that you are obsessed. You know that you're trying to hold on for dear life, and that it's something that you're going to have to work on so that you can it's not even about moving on, because when you love someone, you love them. It's not it doesn't have an expiration date, but you have to be able to at least let there be space in between you and that person, because then it gives them time to miss you. It gives them time to see if maybe life isn't so peachy without you there. But if, I don't know who said it, but they said, if, how can I ever miss you if you never leave? That kind of thing. So think about that, because that might be the key to having that person come back in their own terms. And in the meantime, you're healing because you're really experiencing your own autonomy. Okay, Cancer, I hope that resonated in some way. If you are dealing with something like this, I'm sorry. I'm primarily an astrologer, and I do an astrology version of love readings where I look at both people's charts. I need that other person's time of birth to actually look at their chart, but I have, I do things without having the time of birth too. It just isn't as detailed. And if you would like to explore it from that end, please click on the link below, or if you would just like some other type of natal chart interpretation and whatnot, you can do that as well. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.